Good morning everyone. Today we'll start the next lesson, that is we are not afraid to die if we can all be together. You might have observed the title of the lesson is enclosed between double inverted commas. So if the title is enclosed between double inverted commas, so it indicates that it is a dialogue that has said by someone in the lesson. Okay, so that is saying that we are not afraid to die. It is a dialogue told by someone in the lesson. So we are not afraid to die if we can all be together. So that means the person who is saying that, okay, so he is telling that he is not at all afraid if all the family members are living together over there in that situation. So let's start with the lesson. The lesson is written by Gordon Cook and Ellen East. So the lesson is about the voyage. Okay, the family wanted to travel all over the world, okay, through the sea route. So this voyage, what are the difficulties they have faced while traveling, all that is mentioned in this lesson. How they have come out from that difficult situation, that is what about the lesson. So let's start with the lesson. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6, daughter Suzanne, 7, and I set sail from Plymouth, England to duplicate the round the world voyage made 1200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. So this was the family wanted to go on to the world voyage. So that was, they want to duplicate it, they want to repeat the same thing which was done by 200 years earlier by whom? James Cook. Okay, he traveled over the world 200 years back. So they want to repeat that thing, that journey through the sea. For the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman, had dreamt of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills. Okay, so the family, this family was, it consists of the 37-year-old businessman. So he was dreamed for many days, many years for this voyage. And for the past 16 years, they were honing their seafaring skills. That means they were continuously busy in improving their sea traveling skills. That means whatever training they need for traveling over the sea, they were improving those skills. So they are traveling through this Wave Walker. The name of the ship is Wave Walker. Our boat, Wave Walker, a 23-meter, 30-ton wooden hull beauty, had been professionally built, and we had spent months fitting it out and testing it the roughest weather we could find. So they have prepared their ship, that is Wave Walker. It is 23-meter long and it consists of 30-ton wooden hull beauty. So they were busy in building this ship and testing it for number of odd conditions. So if we are traveling by sea, there will be number of difficult situations, maybe high tide waves, okay, high tides, or else storm. They may be affected by storms over there. So because of that, that ship could control that, handle that situation. So in that way they are building their ship. The first leg of our planned 3-year, 105,000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. So their first journey was from Africa to Cape Town. So they have started their journey and they have added 2 crewmen for this also. So the 2 crewmen were American Larry Vigil and Swiss Herb Ziegler. So they have appointed these two crewmen for what? To help us tackle one of the world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Ocean. So Southern Indian Ocean is considered as the roughest seas. So to handle that, they have appointed these 2 crew people. So they started their journey December 25 found us 33,500 kilometers east of Cape Town despite atrocious weather. So despite bad weather, they were traveling to east of Cape Town. We had a wonderful holiday complete with a Christmas tree. So they had that good holiday on that. So they were celebrating Christmas over there, New Year's Day. So no improvement. So they have spent their holiday Christmas very well. Then they enjoyed this New Year's Day also. So till that time the weather was supporting them. At dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. So January 2nd, the waves were very huge. We were sailing with only a small stern jib and were still making 8 knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of wind spray was painful to the ears. So suddenly the weather started deteriorating. There were high tides over there, high waves, gigantic waves, and the wind was blowing heavily. So that started. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence. The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. Then came a growing roar, and an enormous cloud towered aft the ship. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud but a wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. So that evening, all the sky grew dark, the waves were very high. So they were thinking them to be the clouds, but it was a huge wave that was coming towards their ship. And it was a frightful thing. They have never seen that much huge waves in the, so that was very frightful thing they had seen. Unexpectedly, my head popped. So the ship was totally filled with water because of that high wave, gigantic or enormous wave. So unexpectedly my head popped out of the water. A few meters away, wave walker was near capsizing. So because of that high tide, high wave, so all the ship was under the water, and the writer came out of the water, popped out of the water, and the ship wave walker was about to capsize, her mass almost horizontal. Then a wave hurled her upright. My lifeline jerked taut. I grabbed the guard rails and sailed through the air into wave walker's main boom. Water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had water below, but I dared not abandon the wheel to investigate. So total the ship was covered with water. There was water everywhere, but the writer did not leave the wheel. Okay, so to investigate what happened in the ship. Suddenly, the front hatch was thrown open and Mary appeared. "We are sinking," she screamed. "The decks are smashed. We are full of water." So his wife came towards him and informed him that the ship was full of water and the ship was about to sink. "Take the wheel," I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. Larry and Heb were pumping like madmen. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole starboard side bulged inwards. Clothes, crockery, charts, tins, toys sloshed about in the deep water. So whatever things that were there in the ship, all were floating. And the 2 crewmen, what they were doing, they were pumping the water out. Okay, they were busy. They were working, pumping the water like a madman. So somehow I managed to stretch canvas and secure waterproof hatch covers across the gaping holes. Some water continued to stream below, but most of it was now being deflected over side. So they tried to keep away the water from, they were pumping the water out from the ship. So they were somewhat successful in doing that. Then more problems arose when our hand pump started to block up with the debris floating around the cabins. The electric pump short circuit. circuited. The water level rose threateningly. So, because of continually pumping the water, the motors were not working properly, and the things that were floating in the water, they were coming in between. The debris that were floating in the water, they were coming in between. It was making hard to pump the water out of the ship. Okay. So the night dragged on with an endless, bitterly cold routine of pumping, steering and working the radio. We were getting no replies to our mayday calls, which was not surprising in this remote corner of the world. So total night they spent, that was endless, in which they spent only pumping the water, okay, and steering and working for the radio, working on the radio, so that some help might be coming for them. So they were having no replies for their mayday calls. Mayday calls means words used to signal ship stuck in a disastrous situation. So when the ship is stuck in a disastrous situation, when you're calling, so that calls are nothing but called as mayday calls. So this was a whole that day night they were spending their time by pumping the water out. By morning on Jan 3, the pumps had the water level sufficiently under control for us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. Okay, so they were all the night they were doing that work. So now in a rotation, 2 hours rotation, they were pumping the water so that they don't get exhausted by that. So that was going on, but we still had a tremendous leak somewhere below the water line, and on checking I found that nearly all the boat's main rib frames were smashed down to the kneel. In fact, there was nothing holding up a whole section of the starboard hull except a few cupboard partitions. So they were trying it, but upside they have pumped the water properly, but there was some leak inside the boat somewhere down. So they were checking on that leak. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit, but wave walker wouldn't hold together long enough for us to reach Australia. So 15 hours they spent the time by pumping out the water from the ship, because the ship was totally covered with water because of the high storm and high waves. It was covered totally with water and it was in the stage of sinking, but these people were continuously pumping the water out of the ship, and for 15 hours they have survived it. Okay, so but wave walker, the ship is can no more hold the water. So that is about to, so it cannot hold the water and it doesn't have the capacity to reach to Australia. So I checked out charts and calculated that there were 2 small islands a few hundred kilometers. So now they can't reach Australia. They can't have the wave walker. The ship is not having the ability to travel till Australia. So that's why now they have to search some another way. So the writer searched the charts. That means he has found out that some 100 kilometers away there were 2 islands. Okay, so was a French scientific base. Our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. Pinpricks in the vast ocean is small islands in the vast ocean. So they were searching for those small islands so that they can rest there, they can have shelter over there. On January 4th, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, we reached the last few centimeters of water. Now we had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. We could not set any sail on the main mast. Okay, so on January 4th, after 36 hours, so 36 hours, from 36 hours they were continuously pumping the water from the ship. So now only few centimeters of water was left in the ship, and now but our respite was short lived here. So they were totally exhausted. They were having totally continuously all the night they were pumping, from 36 hours they were doing that, so they were totally exhausted. Again, now it was, after clearing of the water, they took a sigh of relief at 4 p.m. So, but at 4 p.m., black clouds began building up behind us. Within the hour, the wind was back to 40 knots and the seas were getting higher. The weather continued to deteriorate throughout the night, and by dawn on Jan 5th, our situation was again desperate. Okay, so they were about to take some rest, but that lasted only for few minutes, because at 4 p.m. again the sky was covered with black clouds, the wind was blowing, and the waves were huge waves again started. The weather there started to deteriorate, become worse again. So now again they have become desperate. They were in a bad situation again, like earlier one. When I went in to comfort the children, John asked, "Daddy, are we going to die?" I tried to assure him that we could make it. But Daddy, he went on. So his son, when the writer went to comfort them, that to check that they are okay or not, they didn't get hurt or not, so he went there. So one of his son, that is John, he asked that, are we going to die? Because again the situation became worse, so they didn't had any hope. So that's why he was asking that we are about to die or not. Okay. So, but the writer thought of assuring, giving some assurance that it will not happen. But Daddy, he went on, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together, you, Mummy, Sue and I. So that dialogue that his son John has said, that we are not afraid of dying if we can all be together. So that is the thing, when he said the dialogue, he got that, father got the courage to fight with the situation. He got that encouragement to fight with situation. So now he thought of, in whichever situation is coming in front of him, he has to fight that for his family. So that encouragement, that word has boosted his energy. I could find no words with which to respond, but I left the children's cabin determined to fight the sea with everything I had. So once he left the children's room cabin, so he was determined that whatever I have with me, I have to fight against with that thing only, because for his family, for his children, he has to do that. So that thing boosted him. That evening, Mary and I sat together holding hands. As the motion of the ship brought more and more water in through the broken planks, we both felt the end was very near. So when evening, when they were sitting together, more and more water was coming inside the ship through the leaks. So seeing that water everywhere, they were thinking that our end was near. So they were losing all the hopes that they had to survive from that waves, to survive from that storm. But Wave Walker rode out the storm, and by the morning of January 6, with the wind easing, I tried to get a reading on the sextant. Back in the chart room, I worked on the wind speeds, changes of course, drift, current in an effort to calculate our position. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere in 1,50,000 kilometers of ocean, looking for a 65 kilometer wide island. So next day, the Wave Walker, the ship, has supported them and took the family throughout out of the storm, and by morning on January 6, the wind was easing, and that time the writer was busy in reading the charts, seeing the map and checking for the navigation signals over there. So the best I could determine, that means 65 kilometers away, there was some island that they were searching for earlier. While I was thinking, Sue, moving painfully, joined me. The left side of her head was now very swollen. Her blackened eyes narrowed to slits. She gave me a card she had made. So Sue moved on to join father and mother over there, and her left side of the head was very swollen. She was hit by something hard. So because of that, her head was swollen and her eyes also were blackened. But why she came over there? She came over there to give a card that she had made. On the front, she had drawn caricatures of Mary and me with the words, "Here are some funny people. Did they make you laugh? I laughed a lot as well." Inside was a message, "Oh, how I love you both." So this card is to say thank you and let's hope for the best. Somehow we had to make it. So Sue had made a card in which there was pictures of Mary and the writer, and on front of the card it was given that there are some funny people who make us laugh. Inside the card there was a message that I love you both, and this card is for saying thank you. Okay, and let's hope for the best. So whatever will happen in the future, that will happen for a good. So they were having some hope. She created that hope in parents, Mary and the writer. So we have to make it. She has written that somehow we have to make it. We have to come out from this serious situation out there and we have to survive for our family. I checked, and so that encouraged the writer, made him that in whichever situation we have to come out. He has fixed himself. He had that rigid thought in himself after seeing the card. I checked and rechecked my calculation. We had lost our main compass and I was using a spare which had not been corrected for magnetic variation. So he was doing all the calculation that how can we reach that island. So now the only hope was to reaching towards the island, that small island. So at any cost they have to survive and reach to that island. Then with a heavy heart I went below, climbed on my bunk and amazingly dozed off. When I woke it was 6 p.m. and growing dark. I knew we must have missed the island, and with the sail we had left, we couldn't hope to beat back in the westerly winds. So that night he took a nap. So already it was 6 p.m. He thought that the island, we have missed that island. So at that moment a tousled head appeared by my bunk. "Can I have a hug?" Jonathan asked. Sue was right behind him. "Why am I getting a hug now?" I asked. "Because you are the best daddy in the world and the best captain," my son replied. Suddenly when he woke up, he was thinking that he might have missed the island. But Jonathan and Sue came and they wanted to hug him. So the writer asked, "Why are you hugging me?" So they replied that you are the best daddy and the best captain of the world. So why they are saying so? "Not today, John, I am afraid." "Why? You must be," said Sue in the matter-of-fact voice. "You found the island." So why they wanted to hug? Because the island they were searching for, they have reached that island. They have found that island. So that was the happiest thing they were. So that's why the children wanted to hug them. "Okay, what?" I shouted. "It's out there in front of us," they chorused, "as big as a battleship." So he could not see in that dark, but the children could see that island and they were showing it to their father. I rushed on deck and gazed with relief at the stark outline, like Amsterdam. So they have reached that island they wanted to. With land under my feet again, my thoughts were full of Larry and Herbie, cheerful and optimistic under the direst stress, and of Mary, who stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours. So whatever their troubles they have faced, okay, all that they were remembering it. He remembered Larry and Herbie who were pumping out the water. All 36 hours they were pumping the water out from the ship, and Mary, his wife, who stayed at the wheel in that terrible situation also, in that crucial hours. she stayed at the wheels. And most of all, I thought of a 7-year-old girl who did not want us to worry about a head injury. Took 6 minor operations to remove a recurring blood clot. So, their daughter, 7-year-old daughter who was hit hard on the head, she did not worry for that only. Instead, she made a card which encouraged them to come out of that situation, survive in that terrible situation. So, all of them, when they reached the island, the writer remembered all of them, or who has given their important things, he helped them to come out of the situation. So that was about the lesson. We are not afraid if we can all be together. So this is what about the lesson. So I'll send you the question and answer and summary. Just go through it. Thank you.